So welcome everybody for tuning in tonight. This is the first Lehigh Valley JAJAJA PechaKucha talk of 2021. And what a crazy year it has been over 2020, and we're ready for 2021 to happen. So we are so thrilled to have our three wonderful speakers, Japanese American college students. I'm going to introduce each of them right now. Catherine Ngai is our senior from Lehigh University. Say hi real quick.
Hi.
And then we have Ami Yoshimura, who's a sophomore at Lehigh University. Say
Hi.
hi. And then Mika Kizuka, who's a freshman at Lehigh University, who just started her freshman year last fall, right in the middle of the pandemic. So,
Hi.
So we welcome all of our guests to hear their story. They're here to talk about their Japanese American heritage and how their cultural upbringing has helped them persevere through the challenges, not only during the pandemic, but in general. Life throws so many challenges, and the Japanese spirit is really showing in through their story. So we welcome them to the platform. Let me click here. Okay, Catherine, take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Guy, and I am a senior at Lehigh University. I'm studying psychology and global studies, and I'm really excited to talk about my Japanese American background with you today. So, to start off, my father is actually Chinese, and he was born and raised in Hong Kong. And my mother was born in Tokyo, so they met in Tokyo and immigrated here. So, me and my two brothers were born and raised in New Jersey. However, we spent a lot of our summers in Japan and spent time with our relatives and some fun times in the game centers with the picture below with me and my brother playing the drums. And I was able to really learn a lot from them in my time spent abroad. A large thing that really impacted me and my Japanese skills, though, however, was going to Japanese school. So I went to Japanese school on Saturdays. It was called Hoshuko, and I went since when I was in preschool until the end of middle school. And at first, I really didn't like it because it took away my Saturdays. I couldn't stay late at sleepovers because I needed to leave early to go to school. I couldn't join different clubs because I needed to go to Japanese school. However, this really taught me a lot of different lessons. Of course, how to speak, read, and write in Japanese, but also just being exposed to people that were born and raised in Japan and how our cultures may be different. So, my class I saw as I grew up was really divided between the kids that were born and raised like me in America and the kids that were just coming to America for a few years because of their parents' jobs. And so, us kids from that were raised in America really were just very loud. We spoke a lot, raised our hands all the time, made mistakes but didn't really care. And then on the other hand, the students from Japan were kind of quieter, didn't really say much in class, and kind of kept to themselves a lot. And I wanted to become a bridge between the two groups and wanted everyone to be more, become friends with each other. So I took an effort to kind of step out of my comfort zone and join the Japanese kids, even though my Japanese definitely wasn't as good as theirs, to kind of ask what they're up to, what they like to do, and if they wanted to come sit with us at lunch. And it really gave me a big lesson of learning what the differences are and how to take action to kind of overcome those boundaries. Um, Other than that, I was able to experience just the regular undokai, which is the Japanese field day, having my mom make me cute bentos for lunch, and just kind of experiencing some part of Japanese school that I couldn't because I would go to just regular public school during the week. Other than that, my culture at home was very centered around the Japanese culture. So my parents would teach me basic manners such as taking off your shoes when you get home, going to wash your hands and rinse your mouth before doing anything, saying itadakimasu and gochusou-sama before every meal. And those are really great things that I still do to this day, even when I'm by myself. And also, my parents, especially my mom, really likes to speak Japanese only at home, so that really helped me increase my speaking abilities. and we would call my relatives in Japan a lot so I can practice as well. The meals that my mom make are also Japanese and centered around Japanese food. So my favorite foods are actually Japanese. And one interesting one is that I like something called warabi mochi, which is a Japanese like traditional wagashi, and I love it so much. And I always say that it's my favorite food. The biggest aspect, though, however, I think is that we try to keep a lot of traditions at home. One being the New Year, which is very important to us. The picture in the middle with the soba and the chirashidon is from my New Year's Eve dinner, and every year we definitely eat soba because in Japan it's called toshikoshi soba, and we eat it for longevity in life for the New Year. And we always have the Japanese singing competition Kohaku on the TV and watch together. And on New Year's Day, my mom would make some osechi ryori. We would have some mochi, and they would give us otoshidama, which is a little bit of an allowance to give us some fun for the new year coming. And then lastly, on the bottom right is a picture of me in front of my hina ningyo, which is for Girls' Day in Japan. And we would take pictures of me in front of the dolls that my grandparents actually sent to me to just show them how I was growing up each year. And so finally, now that I've grown up and now I'm in college, I wanted to explore more of Japan and my roots and what the country was made of. So I traveled to Japan alone for the first time when I was a sophomore in college for my summer. I usually am in Tokyo since that's where my relatives are and where my mom grew up. So for the first time, I went to Kyoto and Osaka by myself and was able to see a different scenery from the modern Tokyo. I spent a lot of time with my family, and of course, they can only speak Japanese, and all the TV shows are in Japanese. So that really definitely increased my listening and speaking abilities as well. And I kind of got to know what the personalities of Japanese people were like. Finally, I went out of my I was able to find an internship, and I was able to intern at two companies actually in Japan during my stay. And this really taught me and gave me a little glimpse into how it may be if I were to work in Japan in the future. And with my American side, I would always ask questions when I don't know what something is, and everyone was very nice and would always teach me, which was really helpful, and I really appreciated that. Finally, like fortunately, I was 20 when I went to Japan, so I was able to wear a kimono and take my seijinshiki coming of age photos. And I love dressing up and I love kimonos. So that was a really great opportunity and a great memory for me to bring back and show my parents. And so for my future, I actually was able to get a job in Japan and I will be moving next year to Tokyo. And I'm so excited and really excited about how my background and how I was raised in a Japanese cultured house will be able to come and play when I do interact with my coworkers who were definitely all going to be Japanese and really didn't have much experience abroad. So this is my background of being Japanese, and but definitely there were some challenges that I had to overcome um, in college, and being a Japanese American definitely played a big role. And my something that I always keep in mind, and what my mother always tells me whenever I'm on the phone with her and I'm telling her all my problems is "daijoubu, yareba dekiru," which is it just means it's okay, you can do it. And she always pushed me to always just challenge myself before just giving up, especially when I was applying to jobs in Japan. At first, it wasn't going too well. My Japanese may not have been good enough, or when I talked to the interviewers, maybe my personality was just too much for them. But those are all definitely just experiences that I can learn from, and learning how to adapt and just never being scared and always putting a foot forward. And also, being Japanese American definitely helped me keep in touch with family. I do call my mom almost every day for an hour, just speaking in Japanese to keep up my skills, and definitely I really appreciate that. So yeah, this is my story about being a Japanese American, and next up is Ami.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. My name is Ami. I'm a sophomore here at Lehigh, and I'm studying business information systems, and I'm excited to tell a little bit more about my story. And thank you all for coming. So yeah, both of my parents kind of grew up in Tokyo and were born in Tokyo as well. So both of them are Japanese and came to U.S. at a decently young age. And so I was born and raised in New York City. But I went to Japan every summer and winter, so definitely experienced a lot of traditions and definitely got to see a lot of the great scenery throughout Japan. My whole family is in Japan, so definitely also got to see the whole family and got to be with them and experience the culture as well, which was amazing. So being Japanese American in Japan was definitely an interesting experience. There are a lot of differences in kind of values and cultures and norms, which was really interesting and a great learning experience for me. I went to public school in Japan until kind of the end of middle school from May to September, and then I would go to American school from September to May. So it was kind of a year-round school for me, but it was definitely a beneficial experience and an eye-opening experience as well. Um, Japanese cultures and Japanese norms definitely taught me a lot of things, and especially at public school, um, things like serving lunch to other students, to kind of cleaning before going out to recess, were all kind of values that were instilled in me and things that I kind of still carry until now. Um, and so that was definitely great to take in as well. I played soccer for the school and the club as well, while I was there, and that was also a great experience in terms of kind of the differences between soccer in Japan and America, and also kind of the attitudes um, that I discovered, in simple things like kind of having miso soup and rice and fish for breakfast versus like eggs and bacon in America, or having a team onsen instead of kind of like showers in America. So small things like that definitely contributed to my experience and helped me understand a lot of the great traditions and norms and cultures and that Japan has to offer. So I'm grateful for that experience. So being Japanese America is definitely a different experience as well. I do speak Japanese at home, so try to kind of keep up with the Japanese language. Um, and definitely with my family, I try to always keep up with the traditions and norms as well. So I definitely have, for example, in New Year's, Toshikoshi Soba as well. And I try to celebrate and try to watch a lot of and keep up with a lot of Japanese things and cultural things as well. So the food is definitely also a huge factor for me and my family. Um, I just told everyone that I was making gyoza tonight, and I'm really excited for that. So definitely keeping up with Japanese food and cultures and traditions is really important for me and my family. But besides that, I also went to Japanese weekend school Hoshuko in New York, and that was an amazing experience because I was immersed in a community that was also Japanese American, and so a lot of the students and my classmates understood what it meant to kind of um, integrate both cultures into to your life and balance those two cultures. So like the picture you see right now is a fun little picture about um, at the Undokai, which is kind of held annually, usually in the spring. And I that was kind of my favorite event growing up for Hoshuko. So love to highlight it and yeah, love to run as you can see for the relay. So right now, I still love visiting friends and family in Japan. I definitely try to, like I said before, keep up with Japanese traditions like New Year's, and whenever I visit, I try to immerse myself in those traditions as much as possible. Um, and so I definitely look forward to visiting in the future, especially Tokyo and the surrounding cities as well. I have tried to study and keep on studying Japanese just to keep up with the culture in the language. Um, and so just in the future, I can communicate with other people that are Japanese and my extended family as well. But generally, I try to incorporate culture and language in whatever I do, and especially at university. So I try to incorporate Japanese, for example, in my music or um, other aspects of my life. Like I was just saying, I try to drink. I drink green tea almost every morning instead of coffee, just because I think it tastes better and it has more caffeine and it's more natural and it's better for you. So, yes, little things like that definitely are great, and I try to integrate in my life. Yeah, and finally, I try to kind of keep this phrase in my mind all the time, and that's "subete ishokenme," and it translates to, I guess, I will do my best on everything, and really saying I will put my best foot forward and try my best on whatever I do. So whether that be school or whether that be other things outside of school, I do try to incorporate both cultures and both values from both cultures, I guess, and kind of put my best foot forward, do my best on whatever I seek to pursue and whatever I seek to do. So yeah, really grateful for all my backgrounds and experiences and being able to kind of take both of those cultures and values and make it my own. So yeah, thank you for listening. And Mika is next. So yeah.
Thank you, Ami. Hello, my name is Mika Kizuka, and I am a freshman at Lehigh University studying mechanical engineering, computer science, and product design in the Integrated Degree in Engineering Arts and Sciences Honors Program. My Japanese American father, Makoto Kizuka, was born in Tokyo and married my American mother, Carrie Kizuka, who was born in Pennsylvania. My parents met during their college years, where my mom actually studied Japanese at Lehigh University along with mechanical engineering. My dad went to school a few miles away at Kutztown University. After graduating, both my parents moved to Japan for a few years before moving back to California, where I was born. Most of my Japanese family moved to the States, which makes it very easy to stay in touch and visit them. Sadly, I have not been able to visit my family in Japan, but I'm hoping to do so this summer. My Japanese grandfather, Hiro Kizuka, was always and has always been a scholar himself. After my father was born in Japan, Hiro moved to the States and continued his education at Northeastern University in Massachusetts, and eventually founded a company called BioFocus International to provide efficient support and creative advices for companies involving business operations between Japan and the US in the area of radiopharmaceuticals and life science research. My father's stepfather, Ryozo Nakamura, being an 8th degree black belt, immigrated to the States in order to share his profound knowledge of judo with the U.S. national judo team. It was in the States that he married and began his family. He was later inducted into the Judo Hall of Fame. I believe that Hiro set the standard for academic and career excellence, and that Ryozo set the standard for the competitive spirit for the rest of my family, including the determination, perseverance, respect, and to be humble. I applied the similar athletic spirit that I was raised with to what I do now for a profession, snowboarding. My sisters and I decided to apply this competitive mindset to recreational snowboarding, and eventually, with determination, perseverance, we became professionals and now travel internationally for competitions. I have since been on the national podium and have qualified for the 2019 and 2020 International Ski Federation Snowboarding Junior World Championships. Recently, I was also named to the United States Snowboard Racing Team. Academically, I have challenged myself to be a student in the Ideas program at Lehigh University to study not one, not two, but 3 different careers. I do not think any of these accomplishments would be possible without growing up with this champion and academic mindset that the rest of my family grew up with before me. But because I did not have the opportunity to go to weekend school or to be as connected to Japan as I would like, my family does everything that we can to keep the traditions alive at home. Just this year, I had the idea for my siblings and I to make mochi ice cream to celebrate the New Year, similar to traditions in Japan for celebrating the Japanese New Year. We also almost always have Japanese meals and dinners, with my favorites being tonkatsu, Genghis Khan, yakitori, and shabu shabu. I have recently started teaching and immersing myself in Japanese language, Shinto Buddhism, various traditions and manners, and anything else that I can get or learn from my relatives. Like I said earlier, I was not given the opportunity to go to weekend school due to where I live, but I get to learn and experience the Japanese American culture and lifestyle through my family in the States. I had an interesting semester to say the least. I started the semester with a skateboarding accident that kept me in a boot and ankle brace for the remainder of the semester, and I had to go to physical therapy appointments 3 times a week. This made getting around campus just to get food and get to class very difficult. On top of that, I had my first ever semester almost entirely virtual, which made grasping material much more laborious. I was even caught in the middle of a mall shooting at the Lehigh Valley Mall. However, I was departing the mall and before anything went down and no one got hurt. But Nana Karobi Yaoki, fall down 7 times and stand up 8. In other words, what matters is not the bad that happened, but what we do after. Thank you.
You awesome, awesome, incredible. Round of applause. Thank you everybody for your wonderful stories. And I think that's what makes every JA or Japanese American experience so unique. And there's so many layers. Even with our panelists here, we have a variation of experiences, and even the connections with Japan is different from different angles. So again, really thank you so much for tuning in, everybody.